Good morning, friends. This video, we will discuss about specification, framework, and pattern. So what is specification? So specification provides API, standards, recommended practices, codes and technical publications, reports and studies, right? So in Java, we have Java SE, Java EE, Java ME. All these things comes under specification. And there is a Java community, JCP, Java community process. So this community is responsible of bringing some standards in Java, right? And they provide some unique JSR number for each and every module of Java. So specification is more at abstract level, right? So if you observe here, these are all the very popular JSR numbers. For example, JSR 250, common annotation for Java, at the rate post constraint, at the rate pretest try. So these are all part of JSR 250. Similarly, there are JSR 303 for Java bean validations. Similarly, for RESTful web services, we have JSR 370. Similarly, dependency injection, we have JSR 330 like that, right? So what is the advantage of knowing this? As a Java developer, whenever you start developing these things, these modules, first we need to study these JSR standards, understand the best practices and start implementing it, right? So in Java, everything, for example, if I say servlet is a specification, JSP comes under specification, collection API, streaming API, you name anything, there is a specification. It is more at abstract level, provide some interfaces. As a Java developer, we can start implementing those interfaces and implement our code, right? Then comes to framework, right? For example, you say software framework. It is an abstraction in which software providing generic functionality can be selectively changed by additional user written code. That means when you say framework is nothing but more at implementation level, right? So simple example is when you say MVC, right? When you say MVC framework, like for example, Spring MVC, AngularJS, anything, when you say MVC framework, this framework will provide some kind of motherboard. As a developer, we need to develop model, view, and control and drop into that framework. We need not to write code for developing such a framework. So it provides some reusable libraries, and in Java, the popular frameworks are Jersey, Spring, Hibernate, MyBatis, Spring Boot. These are all part of frameworks, right? Then comes to design pattern. So what is a pattern? You know, pattern is a solution to a commonly occurring problem within a given context in software engineering, right? As a developer, we must be thorough with the design patterns because design patterns provide some kind of best practices, right? When I say patterns, there are different classifications of patterns. Even the framework uses some are more design patterns, right? If I say Spring MVC uses MVC pattern, right? Like that, inside the MVC, once again, there are a lot of patterns like friend controller, command, filter. So many patterns will come to the picture, right? To just understand the patterns, first we have gang of 4 design patterns. These gang of 4 design patterns are very important for any object-oriented developer. It is not just specific to Java, C++, .NET, any object-oriented developer, these patterns are very important. So these patterns are like classified into creational, structured, behavior. But on top of that, there is a scope of the pattern, right? Here we can understand there is a class scope and object scope. Just to understand, class scope is nothing but inheritance, object scope is nothing but composition, right? So in OOPS, we have a principle called favor composition over inheritance, right? Because inheritance is more like static behavior, composition is more like dynamic behavior. So that's why if you look at this gang of 4 patterns, out of these 23 patterns, most of the patterns comes under object scope because it implements composition, right? So for example, class scope, you can see 4 patterns, the rest of the patterns comes under object scope. So once you understand that 19 patterns are coming under object scope, 19 patterns uses composition, then when you look at the code, there will be some kind of confusion, right? Because all the patterns are using composition there. Then comes to what is the intent of the pattern? Then why there are this many number of patterns? So start understanding the intent of the pattern. Suppose if you take adapter, so what is the intent of adapter? If there are some incompatible interfaces, adapter provides a known interface, right? For example, whenever we implement different versions, there is a service provider and service consumer. At a provider level, when you change some version at a consumer level, without changing the code we want to implement it, we can use some kind of adapter pattern. Similarly, what is proxy? Proxy is nothing but it is a placeholder between the client application and the service. For example, if you say client and service architect, client server architecture, so the proxy is like a placeholder. Simple example is whenever we are exposing some target beans, right? We are exposing our business components like account bean, payment service, anything. With the help of proxy, we can implement some security transaction. Cross-cutting concerns can be implemented using proxy pattern. So that whenever the client calls some deposit method, it goes through the proxy pattern, which will check for security or start transaction, other stuff, right? Similarly, we have other patterns like, for example, decorator pattern. So what is the purpose of decorator? Decorator is like a wrapper, right? In OOAD, there is a principle called OCP, open close principle, right? That means close for modification, open for extension. So whenever we are developing some application, the core functionality must be closed for modification and it must be open for extension, right? If you look at Java, we extensively use wrapper classes, right? So decorator comes under some kind of wrapper class, right? Instead of modifying an existing object, we can just wrap on top of that and provide some additional functionality, right? So once you understand these GOF patterns are classified into composition and inheritance, and most of the patterns are composition, start understanding the intent of the pattern, then start going through the code, then you can easily understand the patterns, right? Similarly, we have Java EE patterns. So Java EE patterns are used for developing web application and enterprise application. So we have a Java EE patterns. Simple example is when we are using Spring MVC, there is a dispatcher servlet, right? The dispatcher servlet uses a pattern called friend controller, right? So there are, once again, these Java EE patterns are classified into presentation tier, business tier, data tier. It is almost similar to in Ganga 4 also we have creational patterns, structural patterns, behavioral patterns, right? Like in Ganga 4, I told you scope. Then there's the next level is creational, structural, behavior, right? So similarly, Java EE patterns comes with presentation tier, business tier, data tier patterns. Presentation very popular is friend controller comes under presentation tier pattern. Similarly, in the business tier, we have business delegate, service locator, session facade. These are all very popular patterns, right? And when it comes to data tier, we have a data access object. That is one of the very popular patterns. We use data access object and data layer, right? So these are the patterns which are used for Java EE architecture level, right? Then comes to architectural patterns. For example, if I say Spring MVC, that itself is MVC pattern. MVC comes under architectural pattern. Then that architecture pattern uses some of the combination of other patterns also, right? So when you look at architecture patterns, we have MVC, similarly SOA, service-oriented architecture. RESTful is architectural pattern. Microservices, message-oriented middleware, like that, there are architectural patterns. Similarly, when you start implementing enterprise service bus, which is an implementation of SOA, right? To provide solution for integration problems, we have enterprise integration patterns. Very popular framework here is Apache Camel or Spring integration, which implements these enterprise integration patterns, right? Then what are the popular patterns here? Splitter, aggregator, dynamic router, scatter, gather, content enricher, content filter, message filter, like that. There's so many patterns which we implement as part of enterprise integration patterns, right? For example, there is a huge message, we want to send it to multiple destinations. Using a splitter, we can split the message into different parts and send it to a service where we can aggregate into a single message, right? Similarly, when we are using RESTful API, we have RESTful patterns like content negotiation, pagination, versioning, right? Similarly, circuit breaker, idempotent, there are different types of patterns which are used for RESTful web services. Especially when we are requesting, the client is requesting some data from the service. So client can mention the media type. For example, client is expecting the response in the form of XML or JSON. So that comes under content negotiation pattern. Like that, RESTful comes with different types of pattern. Even pagination is also there. Suppose when a client is calling some URI to retrieve some accounts information, using pagination, what we can do using a query parameters or matrix parameters, we can mention, okay, retrieve the data from starting from a particular element to a number of size, right? So that comes under pagination pattern, right? Similarly, we have microservices patterns. When you're implementing microservices, we have different types of patterns. Especially there's a service registry, because microservices is all about there will be hundreds of services. Each service will communicate with other services. So we can have some kind of registry where these all services will be registered with some common name, so that even if runtime the IP address are changed or more number of instances are added, also the other service we need not to modify it, right? Similarly, there's a circuit breaker pattern. So circuit breaker pattern is mainly for what purpose? Whenever one service is calling one remote service, if that remote service is not responding, with the help of circuit breaker pattern, we can implement some kind of fallback mechanism, right? So these things comes under microservice patterns. Similarly, when you're using containerization like Docker, Kubernetes, they use some of the patterns like container design patterns, right? So there is the sidecar pattern, ambassador pattern, adapter pattern, leader election pattern, scatter gather. Here also there's a scatter gather pattern. So these are all the patterns which are part of container design patterns, which are actually used in, for example, containers like Docker and Kubernetes. Similarly, when you're building microservice architecture, there is a domain-driven design patterns are very, very useful, right? So this is an approach for software development that centers the development on programming a domain model. For example, when you're developing some domain model, it could be banking domain or it could be e-commerce domain, any domain, we need to understand what is the domain, what is the subdomain, right? And what is the context which we are going to use it. So these domain-driven design patterns are very, very important when you're developing microservice architecture. So it comes with strategic patterns, tactical patterns, and a few things. Especially in the tactical pattern, you can see entity, aggregate, repository, like that. There's so many patterns are available, right? So this demo is not about explaining each and every pattern. This demo is all about to understand all of you that there are different classifications of patterns, actually, right from Ganga 4 to domain-driven design patterns. As a developer, first of all, you must be thorough with the patterns so that you can implement the best practices.